My family kicked me out for being gay at 16. Now they're back demanding I pay for my sister's wedding. But I got restraining orders and destroyed them legally. I'm 28 years old, work at a wedding planning company, and honestly, I never thought my family, like the people who kicked me out of the house when I was 16, would show up out of nowhere demanding I pay for a wedding. But here we are. And I need to tell this story because what happened these past few months was absolutely insane. Like you're not going to believe half the things they did. I guess I should start at the beginning. When I was 16, I came out to my parents, Ruth and Edward, and they basically kicked me out that same day. It wasn't like in the movies where there's a dramatic moment and then everyone cries and reconciles. No, it was more like Ruth screaming at me that I was a disgrace to the family, while Edward just stood there saying nothing, like always. They gave me literally 2 hours to pack my stuff and get out. I remember shoving all my clothes into 2 suitcases and a backpack, and I couldn't even take everything because I didn't have enough space. My sister Lily, who ride-a-day-to-day does it, dotties, was like 14 at the time, watched me pack from her bedroom doorway, but didn't say a word. Just looked at me with that superiority face she always had. What saved me was Tiffany. Tiffany was my best friend since middle school, and when I told her what happened, I literally sent her a message saying I'm on the street with my suitcases and I don't know what to do. She and her family took me in without thinking twice. I lived with them for like a year and a half, worked whatever I could to help with expenses, finished high school living in their house. Tiffany's parents were more family to me in those months than Ruth and Edward had been in my entire life, you know? And that's something I'll never forget. After graduating, I got a part-time job at an event company. Started from the bottom, literally, like helping set up chairs and tables, but I liked it. There was something about all the logistics of organizing weddings that fascinated me. All the details, the coordination, making someone's most important day turn out perfect. I moved up little by little, took some online courses, and eventually got hired full-time at a bigger company that specializes in weddings. Now I have a decent position, make good money, have my own apartment, and basically built my life from scratch without help from anyone in my biological family. During all this time, like 12 complete years, I had no contact with Ruth, Edward, or Lily. Zero. Nothing. Not a call on my birthday. Not a message at Christmas. Absolutely nothing. And honestly, I was okay with that. I mean, it hurt at first, obviously, but eventually I got over it and built my own family with Tiffany, her parents, my friends, my coworkers. My boss, Brenda, is basically like an aunt to me. She always supported me and helped me grow professionally. So fast forward to like 6 months ago. Tiffany tells me she's getting married, that she met an amazing guy, and they want to have a small but nice wedding. Obviously, I was super excited, because, Tiffany is my sister and everything but blood, and I wanted her wedding to be perfect. The thing is, Tiffany and her fiancé didn't have much of a budget. Like they were saving, but weddings are super expensive, and I knew that with my job I could help them a lot. So I started using my contacts in the industry. I got the venue to give them a huge discount because I know the owner, and we bring her lots of clients. I talked to a photographer we work with often, and he agreed to give them a special price. Same with catering. Flowers, everything. It's not like I did it for free. I mean, they still paid, but they paid literally like half of what they would have paid normally. I just used my connections and the good relationships I have with these vendors to help my best friend. It took me quite a bit of time and effort to coordinate everything, but I did it happily because Tiffany deserved it. The wedding turned out beautiful, like magazine-worthy, and Tiffany was super grateful. A few days later, she made a post on social media. One of those pretty wedding photos with a long text thanking everyone who helped her. She tagged me and basically explained how I had used my contacts to save them thousands of dollars on the wedding. It was a super sweet and honest post, and I felt good that she recognized my effort. I literally thought that was going to be it, that it was a nice moment between friends and that's all. But no. Turns out someone, I don't know who exactly, showed that post to Ruth. And that's when all this craziness started. Like 2 days after Tiffany posted that, I get a call from a number I didn't have saved. Normally I don't answer unknown numbers, but that day for some reason I did, and it was Ruth. My mother's voice, which I hadn't heard in 12 years, literally froze me. The first thing she said to me, without even a hello or how are you, was, Dakota, I saw you did your friend's wedding for free. Your sister Lily is getting married next year, and we need you to do the same for her. I stayed silent for a few seconds because, seriously, that was her greeting after more than a decade? I told her I didn't do Tiffany's wedding for free, that I just used my contacts to get them discounts, and that I definitely wasn't going to do anything for Lily. Ruth started with the speech about how Lily is my sister, that family helps each other, that it was my duty to do this for her. I reminded her, trying to stay calm, that they kicked me out of the house when I was a minor and that they hadn't made any effort to contact me in 12 years. Her response was that I had made decisions that hurt them and that they had needed space, but that now it was time to leave the past behind and be family again. I told her no, that I wasn't going to help with Lily's wedding, and I hung up. I was shaking. Literally couldn't believe they had the nerve to call me after all that time just to ask me for a huge favor. I blocked the number immediately, but it didn't end there. Messages started coming from numbers I didn't know, uncles, aunts, cousins, all basically saying the same thing, that I was selfish. How could I deny this to my sister? That family is forever and blah blah blah. People I'd never had a close relationship with suddenly had opinions about my life and my decisions. I blocked like 15 numbers in 1 week. Then Lily decided to escalate things. She called my work. She told the receptionist she was my sister and needed to speak with me urgently about a family emergency. When they transferred the call and I heard her voice, I almost hung up immediately, but she started talking fast, telling me it wasn't fair that I helped a stranger but not my own blood sister, that Mom and Dad were devastated, that everyone in the family thought I was horrible. I told her I didn't consider her my sister, that a sister doesn't abandon you when you need her most, and to please stop harassing me. I hung up and asked the receptionist not to transfer any more calls from anyone with that last name. But Lily didn't stop there. She started making posts on her social media, like dramatic rants about how her selfish sister was denying her help on the most important day of her life, how family meant nothing to me, how I had forgotten my roots. She didn't mention me directly by name, but it was obvious who she was talking about, and her friends started commenting horrible things. One of her posts went kind of viral in her social circle, and I started getting messages from random people, insulting me. I thought eventually they'd get tired, that they'd realize I wasn't going to give in and leave me alone. But no, because then Ruth and Lily showed up at my office. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I was in a meeting with Brenda and a client when the receptionist sent me an urgent message saying my mother and sister were in the lobby causing a scene. I left the meeting, and when I got to the lobby there, they were Ruth and Lily, with Lily literally crying dramatically while Ruth told anyone who would listen that I was an ungrateful daughter who had turned her back on my family. I tried to stay calm, asked them to leave, told them this was my workplace and it wasn't appropriate. Ruth started yelling at me that she had given me life, that she had raised me, that I owed her this. Lily kept crying, saying she just wanted a nice wedding like the one I gave my friend. There were clients in the lobby, co-workers, everyone staring. It was humiliating. Brenda came out of the office, saw what was happening, and immediately called security. She told Ruth and Lily they had to leave or she'd call the police. Ruth looked at her with contempt and told her to mind her own business, that this was a family matter. Brenda, who's like a 50-year-old woman who doesn't get intimidated by anyone, told her this was her business because they were disrupting the work environment and harassing her employee. Security escorted them out while Lily kept screaming that it was an injustice. After that, Brenda took me to her office and asked me what was going on. I told her the whole story, from when they kicked me out to the thing about Tiffany's post. She hugged me and told me not to worry, that if they came back she'd call the police immediately, and that my job was secure no matter what family drama my family brought to the door. I thought after that public humiliation they'd give up, but instead, Lily sent the worst thing. A large envelope arrived at my apartment. A formal wedding invitation with a handwritten note that said something like, I know we've had our differences, but I hope in your heart you'll find the love and forgiveness to be present on the most important day of my life. Family is forever, Dakota. With love, your sister Lily. Below, she had put the wedding date, location, and a list of vendors they needed with approximate prices, basically expecting me to contact each one and negotiate discounts. That was like the last straw. I blocked all of them on absolutely every platform. Social media, email, everything. I changed my phone number and only gave it to people I trusted. I thought I'd finally have peace. A week later, Ruth called my work from someone else's phone. I don't know whose. And when they transferred the call, and I heard her voice, I immediately told her that if they didn't stop harassing me, I was going to take legal action. She laughed, literally laughed, and told me I couldn't do anything, that they just wanted the best for Lily. I told her she had 5 seconds to hang up before I called the police and reported harassment. She hung up, but what happened next was so surreal, I still can't fully process it. Like 2 weeks later, on a Saturday morning, I hear noise outside my building. I look out the window, and there was Lily with like 5 of her friends, standing on the sidewalk with signs, like it was a protest. The signs said things like family first, Dakota do the right thing, and my personal favorite, sisters support each other. They were there literally shouting my name, trying to get my attention. I called the police immediately. I explained the complete situation to them, that these people had been harassing me for months, and now they were outside my building with signs. 2 patrol cars arrived like 15 minutes later. The officers told Lily and her friends they had to leave, that they were disturbing the peace, and if they didn't leave, they'd be arrested for disturbance. Lily tried to explain to them she just wanted to talk to her sister, that it was a family matter, but the cops didn't want to hear it and gave them like 5 minutes to leave. After they left, I went down to talk to the officers. One of them, super nice by the way, suggested I consider filing a restraining order if the harassment continued. He gave me a card with information about how to proceed legally. That same day, I contacted a lawyer, Joshua, who helped me document everything, all the messages, calls, incidents at my work, the protest outside my building, everything. I filed restraining orders against Ruth, Edward, and Lily. The process took like 3 weeks, but they were finally approved. None of them could come near me, my workplace, or my residence within 100 meters, and they couldn't contact me by any means. But before the orders were officially served, Edward called my work. I hadn't spoken to him, like not a word, since the day they kicked me out. His voice sounded strange, like he was nervous or angry. I don't know. He told me Ruth was destroyed by all this, that Lily was crying every day, that I was destroying the family. I told him they destroyed any family relationship we had 12 years ago when they kicked me out for being who I am. He told me I needed to reconsider my decision, that actions have consequences, and that last part sounded almost like a threat. I told him I had already filed restraining orders against all 3 of them, and that if they kept contacting me, they'd face legal consequences. He was silent for a few seconds and then hung up. 2 days later, I received an email from a guy named Zachary. Turns out he's Lily's fiancé. The email was long, super manipulative, saying he understood there was family tension, but that he just wanted their wedding day to be perfect. That Lily was stressed and sad, that if I could find it in my heart to be generous enough to help them even a little bit. It ended, saying Lily loved him so much she was willing to forgive everything. If I took the first step, I didn't respond. I forwarded the email to Joshua, who added it to the case documentation. The restraining orders were officially served like a week later. Joshua called me to confirm that Ruth, Edward, and Lily had been formally notified, and that now, if they violated the orders, they could face criminal charges. And then, finally, silence. No more calls, no more messages, no more social media posts, nothing. It was weird at first. After months of constant harassment to suddenly have absolute peace, I kept expecting them to show up again, to find some way to contact me, but nothing happened. Lily's wedding date passed like 3 months ago. I don't know how it all turned out. If they got the vendors they wanted, if they had their dream wedding or something modest. And honestly, I don't care. I know that sounds cold, but it's the truth. I stopped feeling any connection to those people a long time ago. What I do know is that I'm doing well. Better than well. Actually. I'm still working at the wedding company. Brenda just promoted me to senior coordinator a month ago. Tiffany and I are still best friends, and now she and her husband invite me to dinner every week. I have my life, my space, my peace. I don't need toxic people just because we share blood, you know? Sometimes I think about how everything would have been if Ruth and Edward had accepted me when I was 16, if Lily had been a real sister, instead of a stranger who only shows up when she needs something. But those thoughts don't last long because the truth is I built an amazing life without them, and I'm probably happier now than I would have been if they'd forced me to stay in that toxic environment. Last week, Tiffany sent me a photo of her and her husband on their 6-month anniversary. They looked so happy, and she wrote, "Thank you for everything. You're the best sister anyone could ask for." And that's what matters. The family you choose, the people who support you when you need it most, those are the bonds worth keeping. The rest is just noise that eventually fades if you stay firm in your boundaries.